We live in a time overflowing with abundance, yet also with deep anxiety. Never in human history have we enjoyed so much comfort, access to knowledge, and personal freedom. And still, so many people feel restless, directionless, and strangely unfulfilled. We run after success, track progress, chase happiness, but rarely pause to ask a simple, essential question: what does it truly mean to live well? Very few modern thinkers have attempted to answer this with as much depth, empathy, and clarity as Martha Nussbaum, one of today's most respected philosophers. Drawing from Aristotle's ancient wisdom and blending it with insights from psychology, ethics, and economics, Nussbaum offers a profound and modern vision of the good life, one not built on wealth or pleasure, but on the idea of human flourishing. To understand her ideas, we have to begin where she began, with Aristotle. For Aristotle, life's ultimate goal wasn't simply to feel good, but to become good. To fully realize one's human potential through virtue, reason, and the cultivation of our abilities. He called this eudaimonia, a life lived in accordance with excellence. Nussbaum revives this classical idea and pushes it further, asking, how do we make flourishing possible for everyone, not just for the lucky or privileged? In the 1980s, she teamed up with economist Amartya Sen, and together they developed the groundbreaking capability approach, a framework that reshaped how the world thinks about well-being, justice, and development. This approach now influences global policy, from the UN's Human Development Index to education, health, and social justice initiatives across the world. Traditional economics measures success with numbers: GDP, income, consumption. But Nussbaum asks something deeper. What is this person actually able to do and able to be? In her influential book Creating Capabilities, she argues that genuine progress means expanding people's real freedoms, their true opportunities to live lives of dignity, meaning, and choice. She outlines 10 central human capabilities that every person should have the chance to develop. These include the ability to live a normal lifespan, to have food, shelter, healthcare, and safety. They also include the freedom to use one's senses, imagination, and reason, to learn, create, think, and explore. For Nussbaum, flourishing requires emotional richness, the capacity to love, to mourn, to form deep attachments, and to shape one's own path with thoughtful decisions. Human beings also need belonging, what she calls affiliation, the ability to live with mutual respect, empathy, and compassion. And she reminds us that our well-being is intertwined with nature and other species. A flourishing life makes space for play, joy, creativity, and self-expression, as well as political participation and economic independence. A just society, in her view, is not one that gives charity, but one that builds conditions where every person can develop these capabilities fully, regardless of class, gender, or nationality. This challenges how we think about success. A nation can be wealthy in GDP, yet poor in dignity, equality, or education. A person may have comfort and possessions, yet feel empty, lonely, or without purpose. Nussbaum reminds us that development is not about having more, but about becoming more. Real progress is measured not by economic size, but by human depth, by how much freedom, creativity, and possibility people actually have. Her philosophy shifts our focus from wealth to well-being, from material growth to moral and emotional growth. It invites us to ask, as individuals and as societies, whether we are cultivating the conditions for human growth or merely chasing numbers. But Nussbaum's ideas are not only about politics or justice, they are profoundly personal. In Upheavals of Thought and the Intelligence of Emotions, she challenges one of the oldest assumptions in Western philosophy: the belief that emotions are irrational forces that must be controlled by reason. From the Stoics to many modern psychologists, emotions have often been seen as obstacles to clear thinking. Nussbaum flips this idea upside down. She sees emotions as intelligent perceptions, reflections of what we value, what we fear, and what we love. They are cognitive, deeply tied to our understanding of the world. We grieve because we have recognized the loss of something precious. We feel anger or fear because our sense of justice or safety has been shaken. To feel deeply, Nussbaum argues, is to be fully awake to the moral textures of life. Her view of emotion was shaped not only by philosophy, but by personal experience, especially the death of her mother. Through grief, she discovered that emotion does not cloud the mind, it reveals the truth of what matters. It gives her work a rare emotional honesty, a philosophy grounded not in abstraction, but in lived experience. Take anger, for example. In her later work, Anger and Forgiveness, she observes that while anger begins from a legitimate sense of injustice, it quickly hardens into a desire for retaliation, a wish to make others hurt as we have hurt. And that, she argues, almost never leads to healing. Instead, she introduces the idea of transition anger, a moral emotion that keeps our sense of wrongdoing intact but turns our energy toward change, toward repairing the future rather than punishing the past. She points to leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela, who transformed righteous anger into movements rooted in compassion, justice, and reconciliation, not vengeance. For Nussbaum, emotions are not enemies of reason. They are its partners, giving moral life urgency, meaning, and the power to transform both individuals and society. One of her earliest and most poetic works, The Fragility of Goodness, explores a question that haunted the ancient Greeks. Why do terrible things happen to good people? Greek tragedies by Sophocles and Euripides show noble characters, courageous, virtuous people, whose lives collapse due to chance, fate, or forces beyond their control. Nussbaum sees in these tragedies a profound truth. Even the most virtuous life is vulnerable. Aristotle believed that happiness was found in virtue, but he also acknowledged that virtue cannot completely protect us from misfortune. Nussbaum takes this idea and speaks it into the modern world. To live a fully human life, she says, is to embrace our vulnerability, to love even though we might lose, to act bravely even when success is uncertain, to build meaning on foundations we can never fully secure. Human goodness is fragile because it depends on things we cannot completely control. And while this is frightening, it is also freeing. Our deepest values, love, empathy, courage, exist only because we can be hurt. If we were invincible, life would lose its emotional richness. The fragility of goodness is what makes goodness meaningful. Her message is simple but powerful. Flourishing is not about becoming untouchable. It is about living with wisdom and compassion within the limits of being human, finding strength not in control, but in the courage to care.